What if the most glorious moment in football history, the moment every player sacrifices their entire childhood for, trains through injuries for, cries at night for? What if that exact moment is also the most dangerous moment of their entire life? What if the World Cup, the tournament that unites 8 billion human hearts, is secretly the most ruthless destroyer of careers, mental health, and dreams that sport has ever produced? What if I told you that behind every trophy celebration, there is a player sitting alone in darkness, their career finished, their confidence destroyed, their identity shattered, because they stood on that pitch and the World Cup decided it wasn't their moment? Because that is exactly what is happening right now. Right now, as you watch this, a new victim has fallen, a career has changed forever, a dream has collapsed in real time. And the world kept watching, the world kept scrolling, the world kept celebrating, completely unaware of the destruction happening in the shadow of the spotlight. Stay with me, because what I am about to show you will change the way you watch football forever. This is the World Cup Reporter, and the truth we are covering today is more powerful than any goal you have ever seen scored. Don't you dare click away. What if the most beautiful tournament in the history of human civilization, the one that makes billions of people stop breathing for 90 minutes, is also secretly the most dangerous place a footballer can ever stand? What if the World Cup, the stage every player dreams about from the moment they first touch a football as a child, is actually a silent executioner, dressed in gold and glory, but carrying a blade sharp enough to end everything you have ever built? What if the lights are too bright, the crowd is too loud, the expectations are too heavy, and the moment you walk onto that pitch, you are already a prisoner of something you cannot escape? Ladies and gentlemen, football fans across this entire planet, welcome to the World Cup Reporter. And today, we are not here to celebrate. Today, we are here to witness something painful, something real, something that the highlight reels will never show you, something that the trophy ceremonies will never address. Today, we are here because the World Cup has just taken another victim, and this time, it hit differently. This is not the first time. This tournament has been doing this for decades, long before the cameras were this sharp, long before social media existed to magnify every single moment of failure into an eternal scar. The World Cup was already breaking people. It was already selecting its victims carefully, professionally, almost surgically. It would wait. It would be patient. It would let a player rise to the absolute peak of their career, let them believe they were ready, let them walk into the stadium with confidence burning in their chest, and then, in one catastrophic moment, it would take everything. We have seen it happen to defenders who were world-class in every league match they ever played, but froze completely when the World Cup pressure wrapped itself around their throat. We have seen midfielders who controlled entire tournaments in club football suddenly lose every technical ability they possessed the moment a World Cup knockout match began. We have seen goalkeepers, absolutely brilliant, decorated, celebrated goalkeepers, stand in their goal during a World Cup penalty shootout and completely shatter from the inside out, while the entire world watched without mercy. The World Cup does not care about your reputation. The World Cup does not care about your salary. The World Cup does not care about your Champions League medals, your domestic titles, your individual awards, or the millions of fans who worship you every weekend. The World Cup has its own rules, its own gravity, its own brutal, unforgiving logic, and if you cannot survive that logic, it will consume you. Think about what a player carries when they enter a World Cup. They are not just carrying their own dreams. They are carrying the dreams of their mother, who watched them practice in the backyard every evening. They are carrying the dreams of their father, who sacrificed everything to buy them proper football boots. They are carrying the dreams of their hometown, a small place that nobody in the world has ever heard of, but a place that has gathered around every single television screen, holding hands, holding their breath, holding on to the belief that their son, their hometown hero, will deliver something extraordinary on the biggest stage in the world. That weight, that impossible, crushing, suffocating weight, is what the World Cup places on every single player. And most of us sitting at home, eating our snacks, watching on our screens, have absolutely no idea what that weight feels like. We only know what it looks like from the outside. We only see the result. We never see what happens inside. Social media made it worse, dramatically, catastrophically worse, because now, the moment a player makes a mistake in a World Cup match, within seconds, within literal seconds, their name is trending worldwide, not with love, not with support, with mockery, with rage, with death threats, with memes designed to follow that player for the rest of their career, for the rest of their life, attached permanently to the worst moment they ever experienced on a football pitch. One mistake, one single moment, one penalty missed, one defensive error, one shot that hit the post instead of the net, and suddenly, a player who spent 15 years building a legendary career watches that entire legacy collapse in real time, while millions of strangers celebrate their pain online. That is what the World Cup does now. That is what it has evolved into. A tournament so powerful, so watched, so globally amplified, that the difference between immortality and destruction is measured not in seasons, not in months, not in weeks, but in individual seconds. 1 second of hesitation, 1 second of poor judgment, 1 second of human imperfection, and the machine turns against you instantly. And here is the thing that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to stand in front of a camera and say this honestly, but we will say it here on the World Cup Reporter, because this is exactly what we do. We say what needs to be said. The mental health consequences of a World Cup failure are not temporary. They are not something a player simply sleeps off and recovers from after a holiday. The psychological trauma of failing on that stage, in front of that audience, carries itself deep into the player's identity. It rewires something inside them. Players have spoken about nightmares that lasted years. Players have described a specific kind of silence in their household after returning home from a failed World Cup. A silence heavier than any argument, heavier than any criticism, a silence that communicated everything without saying a single word. Relationships suffer, partnerships crack, friendships built over years of football disappear overnight because everyone around a failed player suddenly becomes uncomfortable, unsure, distant. The people who celebrated every success suddenly don't know what to say, and that isolation, that sudden, violent isolation after years of being surrounded by love and support, is something that breaks people in ways that football statistics will never capture. Contracts evaporate. This is pure financial reality. When a player fails at a World Cup in a highly visible way, clubs begin their calculations immediately. Transfer values collapse. Sponsors make phone calls to their legal teams. Endorsement deals that were almost confirmed suddenly become under review. The commercial world around football is merciless and entirely emotion-free. It does not consider what you contributed before. It does not factor in your loyalty, your sacrifice, your years of service. It sees a liability. It sees a name that is currently trending for the wrong reasons, and it moves on quickly, quietly, and permanently. Early retirement becomes a conversation. This is perhaps the most heartbreaking consequence of all. Players who still had years of quality football ahead of them, players who were physically capable, technically gifted, professionally motivated, have walked away from the game they loved because the psychological damage of a World Cup failure made continuing feel impossible. They couldn't stand in a training session anymore without the memories returning. They couldn't prepare for a match without hearing the crowd noise from that moment echoing inside their mind. They gave up football, not because their body failed them, but because the World Cup broke something inside them that no physiotherapist, no coach, no sports psychologist could fully repair. Because that is also what the World Cup does. It promises something that no other tournament can promise. It promises immortality. It promises that one perfect performance, one crucial goal, one moment of absolute brilliance will echo across generations, that children who are not even born yet will one day watch a clip of what you did and feel something powerful in their chest, that your name will be spoken with reverence long after your career has ended, long after the boots have been retired, long after the training ground has been forgotten. The World Cup gives and it takes, simultaneously, completely, without apology. And that is precisely why this story, the story of its newest victim, is not just a football story. It is a human story. It is a story about ambition and vulnerability. It is a story about the price of chasing greatness. It is a story about what happens when a human being, with all their complexity, all their emotion, all their imperfection, walks into the most pressure-filled environment ever created by sport. The World Cup just took a new victim. And while we watch the rest of this tournament unfold, while we enjoy the goals and the celebrations and the dramatic moments that will define this edition, let us also remember what is happening behind the scenes. Let us remember that for every player holding a trophy, there is another player sitting in a quiet room somewhere, carrying something invisible and incredibly heavy. Contracts evaporate. This is pure financial reality. When a player fails at a World Cup in a highly visible way, clubs begin their calculations immediately. Transfer values collapse. Sponsors make phone calls to their legal teams. Endorsement deals that were almost confirmed suddenly become under review. The commercial world around football is merciless and entirely emotion-free. It does not consider what you contributed before. It does not factor in your loyalty, your sacrifice, your years of service. It sees a liability. It sees a name that is currently trending for the wrong reasons, and it moves on, quickly, quietly, and permanently. And yet, here is the extraordinary, almost incomprehensible truth about this tournament. Despite everything we just described, despite the pressure, despite the cruelty, despite the psychological destruction, despite the career consequences, despite the social media brutality, despite all of it, every single professional footballer on this planet still wants to be there, still dreams about it, still trains every single day with the World Cup somewhere in their mind, still believes that if they get their chance, they will be different. They will handle it. They will rise above the pressure and deliver something unforgettable.